need to watch out with this one. Good afternoon, everybody. I cannot see everybody, but there are some people in the room I see. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Drissen, working for Scholt Energy, which Johan already explained. Working for 23 years for Scholt in different roles, from operations to innovations to corporate development. So I see a lot, I developed a lot. If we talk about Scholt Energy, we are an energy company delivering gas and electricity to end consumers, B2B, so big consumers. We do that in the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, and Austria. And yeah, we have approximately 12,500 customers. If you look at the turnover, 2 billion euros. I will not talk too much about Scholt, but it's important if you want to know more, look at our website. But what I want to talk about is the journey we make at Scholt Energy. And I think this is also the journey the energy transition is making. It's growing and expanding. And what we achieved at Scholt Energy is started from zero till today. In 20 years, we grow to 24 terawatt hours. How we did that is by constantly expanding to a different market or to add new value for our customers in the way that they grow together with us. I think this is something we should be proud of at Scholt Energy, growing so much in just already 5 times in the last 10 years. Then if you look at how we achieve that, is basically in 3 different segments. The first one is just supply, delivering electricity and gas to our customers, give them proactive, independent advice, and also help them to mitigate risk or to lower their risk by buying on the short-term market or buying on the long-term market and make trades between the two. And the other part we developed in the years after is that we also saw that renewable is taking up. So we help customer to also be able to source their energy renewable for their greening. We do that via GVOs or CPPA, so directly from a wind or a solar farm. But yeah, we still build more value to our company and towards our customers by just adding this renewable energy. And since, I think, 10 years ago, we started also in the flexibility market, because I think everybody in this room who knows electricity sees that we are now dependent on wind and solar, and before we always had this steady base load of generation. So in order to get the renewable energy in the system, you need to add flexibility. So we steer solar, wind, batteries, and other assets in order to balance the demand and production of energy. I will not go too deep in that, but that's a bit of story of Scholt Energy and why it's important to know us. What I want to talk about today and is the future of electric charging. I think there's a few ways you can look at electric charging. You have different types of vehicles. You have, let's say, your own vehicle, which is just a passenger car, but you also have these vans and trucks. And basically those vans and trucks, they drive every day a lot of kilometers. So if you already know how much your electric car is consuming, multiply that by 10 and you have something that a truck is using every day. But what is more important is, where are they going to charge? Is that at home? No, you don't bring your truck at home, put it on the charger. It will charge at a depot, or let's say its end destination. For vans, there are still some people who will charge their vans in the streets at home, but most of the people will charge at industries. And if you look at those industry parks, there is already a lot of, let's say, consumption. But if you look at how the profile could look like, if you just get those trucks and buses, which is on the road, they mostly come back at 4 or 5 p.m. in the afternoon. If they then plug in, you will get a demand. The blue is the 95th percentile. Yeah, you see that they are mostly charging in the night. So what you create is a peak, let's say, in the night. If you know that the sun is shining over, in the daytime, you just already see that those trucks are not charging when the sun is shining. They are charging when it's already getting dark. Basically, also, if you look at how the energy grid is used, that most of the demand more in the winter, is also in the nights between 6 and 8 p.m. in the afternoon. So if you just plug in your car, you plug in your truck, you plug in your bus, we are demanding more and more from our electricity grid. So we need to do that smarter. That was our goal. And because we want to match the renewables with our consumption, and we want to not put more pressure on the grid, but we want to release pressure on the grid, yeah, we thought, let's make a project together. And in the Netherlands, there's a few partners, Scholt was one of them. We went together as a core team and found 30 partners who originally said, okay, that's a good idea. We need to get this world of transportation and this world of electricity, but also charging. Everybody needs to come together to see how we can fit this, how can we bring these things together. So with the 30 partners, we went to the government of the Netherlands and said, we have a good idea. They had a subsidy scheme that's called Groeifonds, Growth Fund. And together we found 41 million with 30 partners to develop, and this project is still running. It started in January 2024, and it's finished in 2027. To give you an idea which partners are involved, I think some of them you know, like DAF, people will know Shell Recharge, and a lot of more companies, a lot more in the charging, some more in, let's say, government research. But together we try to find out what is the best way to charge these trucks when they are growing and coming to these industrial zones. How are we going to charge them smart? We also have 3 pilots, and I will briefly say a little bit about those 3 pilots. One of them is Drissen, which is let's say the last mile delivery of IKEA furniture or other furniture. So they have these bigger vans, and they have one depot where they need to charge all over the Netherlands. So they need to plan. They need to know when the trucks come and charge. They also have a certain grid they should look after. But what you also say, they have a full roof of solar panels where they, I don't know how they did it, but they wrote TSN Groen on top of it. So if you fly over to Schiphol, perhaps the next time you will see it. The other one is a truck charging from Shell Eindhoven, where we want to demonstrate, can you not make a DC grid? So we try to innovate on how can you improve efficiency. We go from AC to DC, from DC to AC. Can we not make a complete DC grid where we can connect batteries, solar, etc. together on one system? The other one is also from Kessel, but it's in Veghel, where we try to put more things together, but I will show you in a minute. The private configuration, which I already told you, is this charging point. What we also try to develop there, one of the innovations is, if someone forgets to plug his truck because he wants to go home, he's hungry, then you have a problem in the morning. So we want to try, can you not make a system where you connect automatically the charger to the vehicle, so you are not dependent on the truck driver. We also want to connect on a DC grid to a wind farm. That's the private configuration, zero emission city logistics in Houten. The other one, more graphically, is again this Shell station. As you can see, we want to try to connect more things, but what is important is if you are driving a truck en route, if you come to a charger and it's not available, then you need to wait. And waiting with a truck, with all the planning of a logistics, that's not acceptable. So in this part of the pilot, they are going to test, okay, how can we make sure we have the energy, make sure we have the charger available, and make sure that the truck arrives at the time we think he will come. So we need data, a lot of data between systems. The third one is more from an industrial zone, and here we try to, what I already explained, try to connect a lot of things. So we want an electric boat, and this electric boat needs batteries. So basically what the boat does is take off an empty battery and with the crane put on a new battery. And on the other hand, we have a big wind farm. We have some customers which also use charging, and we want to, let's make a microgrid on site where we connect all those things to a new DC grid instead of an AC grid. I can talk about a DC grid, but that takes another half hour, so I would like some other people to do that. But what I want to talk to you about is what we want as Scholt in the whole project is we want forecasted energy, we want planned energy, we want to steer flexibility. But to make that happen, we need to have a robust, grid-friendly and cost-effective fleet management and charging infrastructure using the standardization and integration of data exchange between systems. And in every innovation project, we are very keen and good and make very complex drawings about how we see the world. Basically, what you see here is all the different systems, co-systems of charging plaza, fleet management, the local energy resources of the wind and solar, the energy storage, the EMS, the multi-market platform. That doesn't matter. It all needs to be connected. So, and how do you connect these things? Is you need to find a kind of a way how you approach this. How we approach this is from, let's say, from an energy perspective and a planning perspective is, we said we need to do it in a forecast, plan, and execute. Just make it 3 phases where we say, okay, who is responsible or what data do we need in each different phase in the end that we know at the time the truck arrives, do we have the energy, do we have the charger, how much does it cost? So dynamic pricing is also very important, but we have this 3 phases. So forecasting, plan, and execute. I will go a little bit more in depth for the forecast phase. So in the forecast phase, we as an energy company, we need to know how much energy we need to buy and sell on the energy market. We need to do a lot of things. But to do so, we need information, we need data, we need forecasts. So forecast on the energy demand, that's most of the time not that very complex. But if you are a transport company where your schedules are constantly changing, your energy demand also gets more flexible. You can do that from historical, but you can also do that by importing fleet planning. So you know what time a truck will arrive, what time he will depart, and you know with what state of charge battery needs to leave, then you know how much time you have to put the energy in the vehicle, and you plan that. The other phase is prediction of energy production. That's also a tricky part. So you need to predict the wind and solar for tomorrow. Wind and sun, my experience is always changing, is always bad or it's good, but it's always changing. So we need to take that into account. Also we need to take into account is the availability of the asset. So it can be that some asset or a charger or a battery is in maintenance or whatever problem is not working. Then you need to know that in your planning, that you cannot count on this charger, you cannot count on this battery. You put all that forecast in a nice model, and what comes out is a predicted energy demand, production, and available flexibility, where you then, as Scholt Energy, can trade this on the market. The other phase is more, let's say, the day ahead. So basically, if you have that information, you want to plan it. So you want to say, okay, what are my grid constraints? So we in the Netherlands face with a lot of grid constraints. We have a lot of products developing from the grid operators where we have a time of use, a special contract, et cetera, et cetera. All this information you need to take also into account. What you also need to take into account is a prediction of the prices for tomorrow. Price predictions, grid constraints, and in the end what you need and what you get produced together, you can make an optimization based on prices or based on grid. So in the end, this is the optimization phase where you try to figure out, okay, how is the best way to charge the battery, to uncharge the battery? Maybe we need to curtail the solar because we feed it in for negative prices, just to name something. And then we know what we need to trade. Trade on the market, trade on the flexibility, trade on the flexibility markets. Then the next phase is then the execution phase. So if we put our bids on the market and is accepted, we know exactly how much energy is used, how much energy we produce. Then in the day we are living, like today, the world is changing, you know. Solar's more solar, there's less solar, there's more wind. Maybe a truck doesn't show up, maybe a truck comes too late or too early. You need to adapt. So in the execution phase, you need to adapt again your forecast, your planning into the real world. what you do is you take your measurements, you take again market prices, you see what the state of charge of your batteries, your charges, and then you can optimize again by steering everything on prices or demand or on the grid constraints. But in the end, in the real time, it really concerns that it is in less than 1 second, because the real world energy just flows, and if you go over a, let's say, a fuse, then your whole charging square is out. So the real-time phase, very important. That's also a responsibility. If we then go to the timely process for forecast, plan, and execute, one of the things we learned is we want the data at 9 a.m. But we, as people, we want to order stuff until 12 midnight, and we want to deliver it the next day. So how can we plan transportation for the next day if this system is completely not aligned on a timely schedule? So we invented, let's say, digital twinning. So we try to find out what is used, how, that's again the research company. But in the end, at 9 a.m., we need fleet planning, we need the local production, and we need the grid constraints. And at 11, we need to do the planning phase. So we need to predict the prices, we need to optimize the charging, the storage strategy, and the market biddings. That all needs to be done at 11. So we need all the data from all the partners who deliver data at 11 a.m. If you go with the execution time, again, you come at the intraday bidding, the update, fleet planning, asset control, and charging profiles. All this data needs to come together. And if you want to scale this up, you need to go to some kind of standardization. If everybody is sending data in which format, in which time window, or whatsoever, this will never work. This will never come together. So this planning, timely, but also data, standardization, that's very, very important. That brings me to my last slide. Just a takeaway for forecast, plan, and execute. Forecast needs the input from several external predict future and energy balance. Planning, that can timely identify grid constraints and also can signal towards the planning what you are trying to plan now will not fit, we don't have the energy, the grid cannot take it, you need to replan your schedule. Maybe you need to charge more en route, but this is not working on this location. And take control of the assets is also very important, that you can curtail the solar, can steer the batteries, all this flexibility through, and that you can also add it to the market. So if you put it on the market, you get money from it. If you get money from it, you lower your TCO. Lower your TCO is very important for every logistic company where the margins are very thin. So every % you can reduce the price is 1% profit based on energy cost. So the conclusion is standardization and integration of assets and subsystems. That's really crucial and critical. And it needs to be robust and grid-friendly. And then we can scale this up. But if we don't take these steps, we learned that we need to do it this way, and we are now implementing it and trying to test this the coming year. And we will see the results after that. So this was my presentation. I hope it was interesting.